Alright, so this video is going to be a little different than the usual ones I do for the monthly spoilers, and that's mainly because the spoilers I'll be talking about today are actually coming from the unofficial English translator, who's part of the whole translation team that generously translates each and every chapter. And the reason I feel I have to explain this is to make it clear I do not want to give any misinformation here, right? Because at the very least, I can confirm that the leaks I'll be talking about here in this video are legit because of who it's coming from, but I'm sure there's a lot I'll be leaving out here and just not mentioning in this video, and again, it's because I want to make sure I'm not giving any misinformation. To be fair, it's not like I really have much to talk about here besides the small amount that was translated anyway, but feel free to comment down below if you felt I missed anything. I know there's a lot of different leaks and spoilers going around the community right now, but because I just can't confirm it for myself if it's all true or not, I'm falling back on what I know is at the very least reliable information. Like I said, feel free to comment down below what you think I didn't mention. Just be aware that there's probably going to be more spoilers within the next day or two. Alright, and with that out of the way, let's just get into it. So there's actually a few pages in total that were leaked and a very small synopsis of what happened in this chapter. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to do things a little differently here. So I'll just go through this page by page until I have to mention the spoilers itself because not all the pages were translated. So the first page is Chin and Alvita. We're seeing him barely holding on now after his fight against Hades, and it looks like he's gonna be able to recover from this, right? Because I know there was a lot of speculation about him dying from blood loss or just passing out completely after his fight, but it looks like Alvita's holding him by his only arm, probably to escort him out of the arena. And unfortunately, we don't have any translation yet or synopsis to explain what's happened with Chin either, so this is all just my interpretation. But then we're getting to this page. We're seeing Adamus or Adamantine facing off against Beelzebub. So this is really interesting because we're seeing the after effects now of humanity going 4-3, and it's actually causing infighting among the gods. And it's also interesting because it looked like Adamus and Beelzebub were on good terms back when we first saw Adamus come back into the story. But for some reason, there's some kind of tension now, and I just very quickly want to mention something I noticed going back to chapter 61. And this is a very small detail, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but it's when Adamus had asked him if he was going to watch the fight. And Beelzebub doesn't say anything wrong here, right? He just says, there's no point. I mean, it's preposterous to think Hades would ever lose. And again, this is a very small detail that I'm most likely exaggerating, but it always confused me as to why Adamus reacted like this. Because at first he looked shocked, then he just gives him this very ominous glare behind his back before grinning and telling him finally someone gets it. And it's the glare part that confuses me because it's not like Beelzebub said anything wrong, right? If anything, what he said should have only made Adamus feel better about round 7, so I don't know, I've always considered this a very awkward moment, and I think that's because I'm probably looking in too deep. This could easily mean nothing, but it's always been lurking in the back of my mind as to why Adamus reacted like this. And we could go down the rabbit hole here, right? Maybe Beelzebub's abilities allow for his words to give, I don't know, some kind of curse. So in other words, by Beelzebub saying that Hades wouldn't lose, it actually meant that he cursed Hades so that he wouldn't win. And I'm not saying that's what I actually believe though, right? I'm just trying to frame some kind of scenario that would explain Adamus looking at him like this. Because if you look at exactly how this chapter started, we're seeing Beelzebub somehow avoid getting killed by one of his experiments without doing anything at all. We just randomly see this monster lose his arm, but we just don't know how it happened. But what if that was the point? Maybe we were actually seeing Beelzebub's abilities without even knowing it. So if this whole scene from chapter 61 with Beelzebub and Adamus was meant to not only reintroduce Adamus back into the story, but to actually show a glimpse of Beelzebub's abilities, then I think it's a fair assumption that there's probably something Adamus knows that we currently don't. I mean, you can just go back to chapter 34 or 35 where we saw Buddha's future vision for the first time, and this was way before round 6 started. We didn't even know what future vision was. So the point I'm trying to make for you is that there's possibly something off about Beelzebub that Adamus is fully aware of. In fact, it could even make him one of the strongest characters in the series, who knows? I mean, Adamus had no problem questioning him about Hajin. He even asked him like it was a bad idea, so it's not like Adamus is afraid to confront him. If anything, this was the first example where we saw some kind of disagreement between them. But then we get to this next page, and before I explain what's actually being shown here, I'm gonna quickly go over the spoilers we got here. It says Beelzebub and likely some more gods want to wipe out all of humanity for a particular reason. And thankfully, some of the chat bubbles coming from this page and from Beelzebub were also translated. It says, we wish to wipe out all of humanity. The reason we can't hold back the urge is, so it looks like we're getting into a whole other story with Beelzebub here, because apparently there's now some league or association of gods that wants to end mankind for some specific reason. But when we look at this page, it looks like a follow-up from the previous one I just talked about, because if you look closely, I guess Beelzebub just straight up cut off Adamus's arm here. Now it's not clear if he's even dead, we're just seeing his arm, so things are just changing so fast now, right? And honestly, if Adamus is really dead, I'm not sure how to really feel about that. I mean, I guess depending on how it's done in the chapter, it's probably in good taste, but out of all the spoilers we got for this month, I think this is the one that's been killing me the most. Like, I just need to know if Adamus is dead or not. But coming to the next page, we're now seeing Buddha. So thankfully he healed enough pretty fast that he's out of the infirmary, and we're seeing him just chilling here back at the same tree we saw Zeus meet him at before round 6. But then we're finally seeing a new human character here who might end up fighting in round 8, and it is Sakata Kentoki. And this is where I'm going to be talking about the last bit of the spoilers here. It says Sakata Kentoki and Buddha are good buddies, and Kentoki goes to check on Buddha. Buddha asks Kentoki to look into the man who will shake up Ragnarok, Siegfried the dragon slaying hero. Alright, I know I said that was the last of the spoilers, but there is just so much to talk about here. So not only are they best friends, we're then seeing Kentoki bring down this basket he was carrying, and it's full of these candies. Of course, Buddha doesn't waste any time, he just starts to eat, but you can clearly see how comfortable they are with each other. And I have to say, I love Kentoki's design, right? You can even notice this horn sticking out from his right side, but he's also walking on some kind of blades that are under his shoes. His toenails are actually freakishly long for a human. And this is all just a very wholesome moment. I'm just glad to see Buddha back like this now that Chin's gonna be gone for a bit, because I always consider them very similar characters. And this is where the chapter ends, Buddha telling Kentoki to look into this person named Siegfried the dragon slaying hero. Now thankfully I read a lot of your comments, so I kind of have a rough idea of who Siegfried is. If I remember correctly, he should be some kind of character from Norse mythology, but apparently he was also Brunhild's lover. And I'm sorry guys, my knowledge on Norse mythology is actually very limited, but I read your comments. There's actually a ton of theories on who this character Siegfried was before Buddha even mentioned him here. So please feel free to fill me in. I'd be more than happy to read anything you know or any of your potential theories on him, because I really don't know much else. But I do want to mention how curious it is that it's Buddha who's bringing this up, because if Siegfried is gonna actually become a future character where it involves not just Brunhild but also Buddha, then that explains those weird moments that happened between Buddha and Brunhild. And just for an example, you can go back to chapter 44 where we saw him and Brunhild backstage before the start of round 6, and like I said, their interaction here just ends very strangely, almost like Buddha said something to her only she could understand. And then there's the moment between them in chapter 54, he leaves her looking very serious after he left to the infirmary. So there's something only they know between them that we don't, but maybe this is it. Maybe it's this character Siegfried. Again, if you guys have the time and want to fill me in on your Siegfried theories or whatever it is, I'd be more than happy to read your comments. But that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said at the start of the video, I'm sure I left something out depending on when you're watching this, so feel free to let me know if I left anything out. But before I end the video, I just want to give a very special thanks to the channel's patrons, Iron and Justin. Thank you so much for your support. And for anyone wondering, I just recently opened up a Patreon where if you're interested, you can sign up to and get into this monthly Q&A I'll be doing here on the channel. I should be posting the first one sometime at the start of July, so from now until the end of June, feel free to consider joining. You'd also be helping me out here in a massive way and get a special shout out like this in every single video. The link will be in the description below, or you could just search it yourself at patreon.com/Izanami. But other than that, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, feel free to comment down below what your thoughts are, anything you agreed or disagreed with. And if you're interested in more Record of Ragnarok, then make sure you subscribe. I'll be doing more here on the channel like always. And yeah, have a great day.